I remember one of the first things Dave said about writing notices that I remember back in like, last February or last March was trap with simplicity. And one of the ways we've been trained is to take the big, bowl of spaghetti, throw it up against the wall and see what sticks. That's what attorneys do. That's why their petitions are always like a million pages long. They just throw all sorts of crap up against the wall and then just like, all right, we'll see what sticks. What we do is like the inverse of that. What we do is with precision, we identify the one thing. You can bash, I mean, you could destroy folks on all sorts of stuff, but when we send notice and affidavit, we want to make it to where they actually read it. If you send something that's like more than one page, you're probably not going to get it read. Just go shoot straight with you. So if it's more than one page, it's probably not going to get read. And so one of the ways that you answer that is you always try to figure out what the single derivative issue is. Like, what's or I should say, the originating issue? What is the one right that God gave you that they are attacking? And when you do that, you want to find where that right is in your Constitution. The brilliant thing is that our founders wrote in our state constitutions life, liberty, property. That's in there. Like, you can almost always put whatever has been done against you under one of those three things. And so if you see that, um, take whatever issue you have, see if it fits life, liberty, property. And if it does, then what you want to do is you want to do like a quick explanation, just a quick explanation. So, affiant claims Cole violated my right to property. Cole, uh, you know, s- dropped a nuke on my house on Wednesday or whatever. And you just want to give a very brief discussion of what it is. And sometimes what I always try to do is I always try to figure out where they are exceeding their power, because your rights would never be violated if the law was being followed. And so if the law is not being followed, it means somewhere, someone has exceeded their lawful grant of power. Somewhere, someone has done something beyond what they were allowed to do. So you always want to identify, here is where you went over the line. And if you can connect where they've went over the line directly to how it's hurt you and show that written in your state constitution, then you want to anchor it with a maxim. And you keep
Well,
it
I
as simple as possible and you'll be great. One last thing, and I'll give it back. You always then want to ask a Jesus question. Either ask a Jesus question or appeal to where did they get the constitutional provision. So what you're doing is you're saying, Cole violated my right to property. He dropped a nuke. Cole's not allowed to drop nukes on my property. Then here's my right to property, Oklahoma Constitution, Article 2, Section 7. Then I would look at the maxims and I would say, there's a whole group of property or land or natural rights or something. And then I would just ask, please show me, or affiant demands. If you're sending an affidavit, you always want to be the boss. Always talk like, boy, where'd you get them powers? Like, affiant demands you show me or affiant demands you show the constitutional provision that authorizes you to violate affiant's right to property. Because what you're doing at that point is you're now directing the attention to, you violated my property. Where were you given that grant? And of course, by asking the question, we know they weren't given the grant to violate your property. So by asking the question and they don't respond, you're removing the fact that there's plausible deniability. You're showing the fact that they did it with malice. And by reducing it down to the Constitution, you're blocking everything else. There's not going to be any statute, there's no case law, there's no rules, there's no nothing. You're basically just going straight at them, going, here's where my right is, here's where you violated me or violated it. Show me where you're given this power. And then the biggest paragraph should be your remedy. The biggest paragraph is where you load it up with all the provisions. I demand you immediately stop or give me back my money or drop the case or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and then that's when you would load it up with all the stuff that Dave teaches. So